Today I wanted to do a review and also just an overview of this beautiful handgun here, and it is a Cz-82. So these are really unique and, in my opinion, pretty awesome CNR eligible semi-automatic handguns. What it is it's a Czech Republic made firearm that was made for the military and police. It was manufactured between 1983 and I believe 1992. So that's the years of service. And when the Czech Army designed this, they designed it to replace the Cz-82, which is also another pretty awesome CNR handgun. But this one here is chambered in the 9x18 Makarov, and it has a 12-round double stack magazine, which is nice. A lot of the older CNR guns are going to be, single stack weapons, where this is a double stack, which is great. But some of the unique things about this is, with the Czech Republic was always, they would take a design and just kind of tweak it to their specs and improve on it in some cases. You see that with the VZ58 rifle, which, looks aesthetically similar to a AK-47. However, mechanically, it's completely different. It's short piston stroke, striker fired, where the AK-47 is long piston and hammer fired. So this is another example of that, where the Czech Republic took a Makarov, which is the standard, issued firearm for the Soviet Union and some other COMBLOC countries, and then kind of tweaked it and improved it and made changes, the changes that they wanted. And this is the end result, which is the Cz-82. They're really nice firearms. You can see mine here. This may be the finest Cz-82 in the world, in my opinion, because I went ahead and refinished this. This thing has been rust blued. I'll talk about that later. So that's why this one is so, nice looking. Most of these are going to come kind of beat up looking with a black enamel paint, but I did, completely refinish this, and I rust blued this particular firearm. So let me go over a few of the specs here with these things. Like I mentioned, they were in service from 1983 to 1992. They replaced the VZ52 handgun. They have a double stack magazine. They're double action or single action. Unloaded, these things weigh about 28 ounces, so they're slightly heavy for a carry piece, and 32 ounces fully loaded. So they are not a light handgun. That's, slight negative, but you do get that 12 round and double stack capabilities. They have a safety, frame mounted safety here, that is not a decocker. They're blowback operated, so it doesn't run on the Browning, action. This is direct blowback, which we'll show that in more detail later. They're all steel construction. When you get these things as a surplus CNR handgun, they're most likely going to be coated in a black enamel paint that's going to be all chipped up. Another good thing about these is they have a low bore axis. Most blowback firearms with the pin barrels, they're going to have lower bore axis. It is fully ambidextrous, which is nice. So you got a safety on both sides here, and you got magazine release on both sides. So that's nice that it was done, something in the 80s, or designed in the late 70s and service in the 80s and early 90s had, ambidextrous controls, which you don't see that too often. Another cool thing about these is they actually come with a chrome lime chambered, and the barrels are polygonal rifled, which is kind of unique. You don't see that very often, particularly on military guns. So that's pretty unique. But that also, I think, is a positive, and we'll talk about that a little more later. They are CNR eligible, which is nice. My understanding is that some museums sent a letter to the ATF letting them know that this firearm had interest, or museum interest, and that letter was what led to this firearm being added to the CNR eligible list. Because you usually don't see too many modern firearms, modern as in this one was designed in the late 70s and in service as late as the 90s. You don't see that type of firearm on the CNR list. So this is kind of one of the most modern, if not the most modern, CNR eligible handgun. So that's really cool about these. When I purchased this one, which was probably about six or 7 years ago, I think I paid $200 or less for it. Now I see them going for $350 and up. So expect to pay at least $300. You might be able to get a used one face-to-face transaction, you know, around $300, but you're certainly not going to pick these up at $200 or under anymore. So I want to talk, you know, about a few of the changes I did to this. Like I mentioned, I rust blued this, which if you're not familiar with rust bluing, it's the old-fashioned way of how you blue a firearm. It involves a lot of manual labor. I use this product here, which is the Lauer Mountain Barrel Browner, and it works really good. The process is you basically have to strip the weapon, you know, completely break it down to the smallest parts, sandblast it, get down to the bare metal, and then you apply this solution. And there's instructions on this. I may do a more detailed video on the rust bluing process, but you apply the solution, you let the items actually rust, and then you card it off using steel wool, and you repeat that process as many as 10 applications, and then on the final application you would boil it in like a solution of baking soda and distilled water, and that would neutralize the solution. But the bottom line is I probably put around 40 to 50 hours of labor to get it to this point. But now, I mean, it is absolutely beautiful. You can see that finish there. Just amazing. Deep blue. Rust bluing is just really, really, really impressive to look at in person. I mean, I hope this video kind of shows you the depth of color. It's just a deep, deep blue that you're not going to get on traditional hot dip bluing. But that's, you know, that's one of the things I did. I replaced the grips. They come with black grips. So I put these ivory synthetic. They're still plastic. The original ones are polymer too. But I went ahead and put these on. At some point, I'm going to order some walnut grips for this, and then I'm going to have the most classy Cz-82 in existence. I promise you that. But for now, I went with the white synthetic ivory look, and I think it looks real good with that blue. So let me show you how to field strip this thing. So obviously, we're going to check it's unloaded. Here's your magazine. We'll get that out of the way. We'll rack the action here, and there's nothing in the chamber, so we're completely safe. So what you want to do is you want to cock the hammer. You don't have to, but it's just easier. And then to break these down, it's really simple. All you got to do is grab onto your trigger guard here, and you pop it. You hear it pop out. And then all you have to do is pull it back. There's a little slot that allows you to take off your slide. And then there's a spring, which we'll get that there. So this is it. Field strip, really fast, really easy. You can run a bore snake through there. You can clean the trigger mechanism. Really, really simple. You can see now where it's been pinned, the barrel's pinned to the frame. So this is direct blowback. Your barrel doesn't rotate or move during the normal action of this firearm. And that leads to better accuracy overall, as well as a very low bore axis. So you can see the polygonal rifling in there. You can see the chromed chamber, as well as some of the, of course it's a little dirty, but it's mainly oil. Some of the internals here, the trigger mechanism, safety, and all that. So let's put it back together. It's as simple as putting your recoil spring back on, grab your slide, and then pulling it back to that same spot. You'll feel it drop in. You see it already did. Run it forward, pop that forward, now check for function. So on double action here, just make sure it fires. We can go ahead and cock the hammer, single action, fires, cock the hammer, put it on safety, or safe, excuse me. Does not fire, drop the safety and fire. So we're 100% working here. Really simple on the breakdown, so I wanted to show that real quick. That field strip is piece of cake. So some of the positives with this handgun, the trigger is really nice for an older, Makarov style gun. Most of them have really heavy triggers, and this one on double action, to me, I'm getting between 9 and 10 pounds, which is not light, but it is smooth. I mean, it is CZ smooth. CZ is known for making smooth triggers, and this one is extremely smooth. Single action, it feels like it's maybe 4 pounds. I would say between 4 and 5 pounds. Very nice trigger. There's a little bit of creep, which you can see here, see a little bit of take up. And it's not like the crispest trigger, but it's nice. I mean, it's good enough for a handgun. Actually, with these is really nice. That polygonal rifling helps. The low bore axis helps. It's just a smooth shooting gun. You know, I love that it has the 12 round magazine. It came with 2 magazines, which is nice. So you get 2. Usually when you get one of these, they come with 2 magazines and a holster, which I don't want to show the holster right now, but it's just a leather military holster. Nothing special, but it does come with a holster. These things are very reliable. I've never really had any malfunctions with it. I haven't put a whole lot of rounds to this, maybe between 500 and 700 rounds possibly, but it's never given me any hiccups. I've run the cheap surplus stuff. I've run the nicer Hornady stuff, and you can actually get Hornady critical defense in 9x18 Makarov, which is nice. Some of the negatives, I would say, although this gun is smooth shooting, the recoil is a little snappy, and that's just a result of the blowback design, direct blowback. It's not going to push back on you, but when you're firing this thing, it's snap. It's very fast recoil. So just be aware of that. It's a little heavy for a carry piece. I have carried this, but it is a little heavy. When it's fully loaded, you're looking at 32 ounces. So considerably heavier than, say, like a Glock 19 or something like that. There's no decocker, so when you have the weapon on safe, there's no safe way there's no decocker that's going to lower the hammer safely. So you have to do the old school way, and if you do this, you need to be very careful. Of course, we'll make sure we're still unloaded. You want to kind of put your thumb in between the hammer and the frame there and the slide, and drop it. You're going to have to grab the hammer and let it down gently. Now, if you don't have the trigger, like if I release this thing and right there, and I let go of the trigger, when it pops forward, there's no possible way this hammer can go forward because there's a safety in here that prevents the hammer from drop safe. The only way for the hammer to go forward is if you keep the trigger back. And see now the hammer, you see that little movement there? That's what allows it to be drop safe. So it's not extremely dangerous to drop this hammer in this method to get it kind of a semi-decocker, but just be aware. If you do that method, make sure you are definitely pointing your weapon in a safe direction before you do that. Another negative is the 9x18 ammo. I mean, it's power-wise, it's going to be in between a 380 ACP and a 9mm, 9x19. So, is it decent performance? Yes, but I would if this thing was in 9mm, it'd been amazing. But it is in 9x18, so you're not going to have quite the stopping power of a 9x19, and also the availability of the ammo. You can get it at most big box stores or gun stores now, but it's just not. You're not going to go into Walmart and probably find 9x18. But overall, I mean, these things are wonderful little handguns. It's a CNR handgun it's like a Cadillac compared to a Makarov. The Russian Makarovs are great guns, and I love them too. I may do a review on one of them at some point. But this is my favorite CNR handgun that's available. I suggest you pick one up right now, even though they've gone up in price. In 10 years, these things might double in price, and these might command a value of, say, $600-700. I mean, they're that nice. It's all steel construction, smooth triggers, reliable. You got 12 plus 1, 12 rounds of magazine and 1 in the chamber. I mean, they're great guns. They're a lot of fun to shoot. They make good projects too, like refinish them like I did here. You could Cerakote this or moly resin coat it, or something like that. Or even if you just want to strip off the old enamel and use Krylon. I mean, you could make this thing look good real easy. So overall, I definitely recommend these guns. If you see one, you ought to get one. They're really nice. Definitely, like I mentioned, my favorite CNR handgun that I own. And I highly recommend them, and I suggest you pick one up if you get the chance. So hopefully you enjoyed this review and overview of this wonderful handgun. If you got any questions or comments, leave them down below. Here's just a quick kind of look at it one more time of the rust balloon that I did on it. Really pretty gun. There's a look down the sights for you. So you got 3 dots, and of course I painted the front, just a little white paint there just so it's more visible. Great sights. What a great handgun. Get yourself one. Thanks for watching.